Maximich is repeatedly said to be a staff captain, and a staff captain is a grade 10 officer, and then he outranks Pecorin. But my question is, although he outranks, why do you think that he looks so much up to him? He always tries to be be near him at any way hurt and stuff when Pecorin barely acknowledges him later. Hillary.
I think he kind of said, he wanted. I think he probably wishes he could have been like Pecorin maybe when he was younger. And there's something about Pecorin's personality that just draws people to him because he's so confident. And I think Maximich sees that, and maybe because he's in the military, I think he looks at confidence as a virtue.
And then Grushnitsky is a cadet at the beginning of Princess Mary, which means that he'd be ungraded, he wouldn't have a grade, and he was just starting out. But he wears a heavy soldier's greatcoat, so obviously he wants people to think that he's higher up than he is. And then he's promoted to the rank of officer later in the novella. And then here's my discussion question about that one. Grushnitsky's act of wearing a heavy soldier's greatcoat is a subject of much teasing from Pecorin. And why do you think he does that? Why do you think he wears it?
To get Princess Mary's attention and to make her think that he's higher up in the ranks than...
Yeah. I think it's because being high up in the military is a great honor, and since he's so low, he tries to make people think that he's higher up, so he gets more respect from the others, more attention. And then the last character I want to discuss is the Dragoon captain. And then Dragoon refers to cavalry, so he was a captain in the cavalry section or region of the army. And then why do you think Grushnitsky aligns himself with the Dragoon captain instead of Pecorin? Why? Because, I guess I'm going to step in and answer my own discussion question. I think it's because Pecorin is trying to kind of steal Princess Mary from him, and he's angry about that. And he wants a way to kind of confront Pecorin, and then the Dragoon captain offers a solution. Ellery, again.
I have a similar question. Is the Dragoon captain is that more highly regarded than just a regular captain in the army? Is there any difference?
I think it's a little bit different. It's kind of like a person from the Navy would be differently regarded than a person from the Army. It's kind of just different sections.
I think Grushnitsky might have allied himself with the Dragoon captain also because he's at a higher rank than Pecorin.
Yeah, true.
So he has that authoritative figure with him.
Exactly.
I think it might be because it sounds like dragon.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I was kind of hoping that they rode dragon or something, but they don't. It's
kind of blood.
Dragon scrap.
It also seems almost like the Dragoon captain took Grushnitsky and
yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that Grushnitsky.
Sought him out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That it was, I kind of see it as the other way around, and he just kind of went along with it, along with the plan.
The Dragoon captain
Was what?
jealous.
Well, remember this scene at the dance when they were trying to make fun of Princess Mary with some drunk man, and Pecorin comes in and stops it, and so the Dragoon captain had it out for Pecorin. And so then he uses, I feel that he used Grushnitsky as kind of a pawn to get back at him.
So now that we learned some of the ranking systems and mechanics of this Russian army, which colonizes other people, we can learn about how it relates to the book.
Take your time.
Okay, well, so this kind of says how where colonization shows up in the novel. First, the background on our author, Mikhail Lermontov. He was born in Russia, and he says, we've talked about often if there's autobiographical factions to the novel, and there are a lot of them, even though he says that it's not an autobiography. But they were both in the military. Even Lermontov's father was in the military. He had a big background there, and so he got bored. He went to college. He hated it. He got bored there, like Pecorin gets bored with lots of things. And then when he was banished in the military to the Caucasus, he he began writing a hero legend. Okay, the first book, Bella, begins in Georgia with a traveling military group crossing the Caucasus Mountains, and it's narrated by just some guy that we don't really know anything about. It's his journey from Tiflis to the post station near a volcano, and that's Tiflis, and then you can see he travels north along that little red line over the mountains to that volcano. He is traveling through Ossetia. They hire some natives to help them pull the cart, and when they get to the top of the mountain, in order to get to the top of the mountain, they have to hire these people who they're currently in the process of conquering, so that's strange. As Vincent said, Ossetia is now divided into north and south. And, okay. When he's going up the mountain, he meets another traveler, Maximich, and the weather forces them to spend the night in a little mountain hut type thing, and so then our nameless narrator tells Maxim to tell him a story from his long experience serving in the army, and then that's when we first hear about Peckering. So, okay. In the second book, our unnamed narrator just parts ways with Maxim, and he heads to a hotel in Vladikavkaz, where he waits for the arrival of the military escort that accompanies groups traveling through Kabarda. So there's not much. The narrative style of this book it's like a story within a story, but this little novella part doesn't have much of a backstory, not much of an intro that talks about colonization. So, yeah. But then they meet up again, this nameless narrator, and then they talk, but Maxim looks for Peckering, and they again part ways. Okay. In the third book, you can see on the side of the map, he travels from over there to near the Strait of Kerch to Taman. This is an excerpt from Peckering's journal, so it's first person, and he's spending 2 nights in this little port town. He says that it's one of the worst places he's ever been to. He hates it there. Peckering says, I explained that I was an officer traveling on duty to my unit at the front and wanted a billet for the night. Billet is a soldier's living quarters. And this is a picture of Taman, and I think it looks pretty terrible. I would not go there either. Okay. In book 4, Peckering has just arrived in the spa town of Piatigorsk, which we talked about at length yesterday. Sounds like a great place, and he liked it there, not just because of the mineral water, but because Mary was there. He says of it, it's a delight to live in a place like this. Every fiber of my body tingles with joy. The air is pure and fresh, and the kiss of a child. The sky is bright blue. What more could one want? Peckering sees all of the characters, Mary, Grushnitsky, and even Vera, as people that he needs to colonize or manipulate to do his bidding and to get what he wants. Like, the way he uses them is, I compared it to a type of colonization. He's in this foreign land with a military group working on colonizing the area, and not only does he physically colonize these people with the army, but mentally and emotionally he colonizes his friends as well in this book. Okay. In The Fatalist, this was also part of his story. Peckering has to spend a couple weeks with an infantry regiment in a Caucasian Cossack village on the left flank. That's just a picture that I found that's depicting their gambling session. I don't know if that Russian words are, but so one night he went to unwind and play cards at the home of one of the officers, and he was playing against Lieutenant Volich, and they were talking about predestination, and he predicted his death, and it didn't have much to do with colonization. good example of a military figure, even though most of his travels are not military related, or they are military related, but we don't hear about that part of it as much.
Well, I guess, I don't know, the fact that he's like cocky and confident, I guess, might make him, might be a good quality to possess. Maybe just like he sees himself above the enemy and stuff.
Yeah, because he actually technically is with his range and stuff. Okay, why do you think that Lermontov chose this narrative style of like the story within a story? Would you have preferred to just read the Tales of Peckerin's Journey, or did you like the first stories better?
Well, I think it was important to have like a different view other than Corin's, because it would have been like really easy to just like hate him or not hate him because like we're reading from his perspective. But I think when you hear of other people's opinions of him, it kind of gives you more of an idea.
I agree, but have a slight different stance to what Marguerite just said. I think that, and as a class we also discussed that we almost like him better when we hear Maxim talking about him because Maximich looked up to him, strangely enough, and thought he was this great guy. And so we start off thinking, oh, he's not so bad. So then when we get to this very personal journal where he showcases his just kind of evil plans and personality, we're more prepared for that. We have this basis of maybe he's not terrible. It slowly brings us into this kind of anti-hero character.
Do you think that the backstory of Russia colonizing the area is important to like understanding the book?
I think that it's good to like, so you can kind of have an idea of like what life was like where he was, because like I didn't know anything like about how Russia was like colonizing like Georgia and like the mountains, and so I think that helps, but it also kind of explains Peckerin's life a little bit too.
Sorry, and I agree with that. But the whole title being a hero of our times, I mean, the heroes of Russia would have been military figures, and so the title is very focused on this group, and are they truly heroes? Are they doing good things, or are they out at spa towns?
Or is Peckerin just a bad example?
What?
Or is Peckerin just a bad example?
Good question, yeah.
Okay. Well, just overall, Peckerin isn't really the nicest guy. We learned that from his journals. He's conniving, manipulative. He takes what he wants, and he does what he has to do to get what he wants and where he wants to be. We saw that with Mary. We saw that with Grushnitsky, and Bella. I kind of compared it to the English colonizing the America and the Spanish and their colonization of Latin America, because it's a larger, more powerful group taking over a smaller, less industrialized area, and it just reminds me of Peckerin and his emotional and mental colonization of the characters in this book. And
Okay.
Should I stop?
Great, thanks.